Thank you. So those were some of our puzzles. Now we're going to have a look at another way that you might want to build and boost your vocabulary. Brilliant idea to start really early with boosting vocab. So get going with this in year 4 at the latest. But if you are in year 6, then don't panic. In year 5, sorry, don't panic. You've still got time. You can make a difference. And poetry is one of the ways you can do that as a quick win. It is a bit of a quicker way into vocabulary, because poetry by its very nature has just the cordial of language. You know, if you're making a drink and you put that little bit of cordial in before you dilute it with the water, well, that cordial is like poetry, because the poets have got rid of all the words they didn't want and just gone for their most brilliant, meaningful vocabulary. So here's a poem by Ted Hughes. Wrote The Iron Man. I'm sure you've heard of him. He also wrote a lot of poems, and a lot of them are about animals. And this is just the start of a poem he wrote about a pike. Probably from the picture, you can guess what a pike might be, but let's have a quick read of the poem and then just think what we can do to help us build vocabulary through this bit of poetry. Pike, 3 inches long, perfect pike in all parts. Green, tigering the gold, killers from the egg, the malevolent aged grin. They dance on the surface among the flies, or move, stunned by their own grandeur, over a bed of emerald, silhouette of submarine, delicacy and horror, 100 feet long in their world. Lots of exciting images there. So I've picked out a few of the words that we might think, OK, let's check. 1, we know what that means, but 2, let's just have a look at what that gives us and adds to that poem. So we know from my helpful picture, I didn't draw it. I'm not a good drawer. I'm not a very good artist. It's a pike, and there he is. He looks full of delicacy and horror. Nice little phrase there, bit of a juxtaposition, putting 2 opposites together. And that phrase below, green, tigering the gold. So if you look at the picture of him, I don't know if you've ever caught a pike or seen a pike or tickled a pike in a river. Or was that trout? I think that might be trout that you have to tickle. But their flesh, their skin, looks a bit like a tiger. So look what Ted Hughes has done with that word, green, tigering the gold. So the green becomes gold through tiger stripes, but he doesn't need to say it in lots and lots of words. He's just got that word tigering, and it brings it to life. Suddenly we've got that image, and we've got that image of a tiger who, of course, is full of ferocity and aggression and a meat eater, and all of that suddenly is part of what we understand about the pike. There's a few other words there, and the next one I want to look at is the malevolent grin. Now, if you're a Disney fan, you might have watched Maleficent, which sounds a bit like malevolent. So just have a think, what does malevolent mean? Can you get underneath the layers of that word, malevolent? Have a think. And now I'm going to give you a really useful way of unpicking meaning through Latin. You didn't think this was a Latin lesson? We're actually going to have a little look at some Latin and Greek words.
Takes me back to my grammar school days at Torquay Girls Grammar. I actually loved Latin and did it for GCSE.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's a whole goldmine of opportunity when we look at the roots of words. So that word malevolent has the word mal at the beginning, and that word comes from the Latin, which its original meaning was bad, badly, ill, poorly, wrong, or evil. So we know that any word we come across that starts with mal has that connotation, that underlying meaning that something is bad or wrong or evil. So if we have a look at those words underneath that I've picked out, and there are others, there are like another 30 or 40 if you Google but this Latin origin, there are lots of words that start with mal. All of those words have a bad or evil or wrong kind of connotation. Malfunction, something's gone wrong. Malaria, disease that they thought was caused by bad air. Malformed, something's not shaped correctly. Malnourished, you haven't got enough food. Malpractice, something's gone wrong in what was meant to be, was meant to happen, something went wrong. Malicious, someone who's wanting to do harm or evil. Malevolent, there's our word, malevolent, trying to deliberately cause harm or do evil. So a malevolent grin that our fish had is actually a grin that says, yeah, I'm smiling, I'm going to do you some harm. So that pike, let's watch out for him. Malign, if you malign somebody, you speak evil about them. So that whole Latin origin of mal, really important to try and get underneath. And then we've got a fighting chance. If we don't know a word, but we do know it starts with mal, we can have a go, look at the other words around it, work out the context, and then see if you can understand a bit about what it says through your understanding of that origin. And there's some more there, those bullet points. Bene, sub, circum, auto, and con. So bene, let me give you a few words that start with bene and see if you can work out what the Latin origin might mean of bene. We've got words like benefit, benefactor, beneficial. Have a think. Let's see if Liz has got a clue.
Ooh. I think there's kind of a link with mal, but maybe more opposites. Maybe almost an antonym.
Almost an antonym. Bene might be an antonym of mal. Awesome. So we've got that whole good connotation because we know a benefit is something that helps us. Benefactor, somebody who leaves us something that's going to help us in life. Beneficial, something that is going to give us a good part of life, or beneficial if it's going to help you do something. And
like
get
this webinar
just
beneficial for
just
you.
like our webinar. And there's a few others there. So after this webinar, jot those down quickly and then go off and find out what they mean. Sub, circum, auto, con. Go and find out what they mean. There's all Latin roots that have a really deep meaning that's going to help. Okay. There we go. So one more before we leave the idea of poetry. So if you've been on the Tube in London, then you'll know that they often have poems on the Underground. And this was one of the poems on the Underground a few years ago. It's by the wonderful poet Charles Causley, and his poetry might be really helpful to have a read of. Same as Ted Hughes. Go and look at some of their things, their poems. And this one is a nice frame. So not only does it help for you to read poetry, to boost your vocabulary, it helps you to write a bit too, have a go. And you might find that this one, I Am the Song, gives you a nice little framework that you could write some of your ideas around. So I am the song, I am the leaf, I am the tide. You could go with that and then put your own ideas in afterwards. Or you could turn it around and say, I am the bird, and come up with your own ideas. I am the land, I am the moon. But there's lots of ideas there you could play with and have a go at writing your own. And I'm sure that any parent or carer or teacher or tutor would love to see what you've written. So have a look at that and see if it inspires you to have a go at writing something. And if it does, send it in. We'd love to see it.
I was just about to say the same thing. I'd love to see what you do. Maybe we could even put it on our social media.
I think we would.
Share it with the world.
I think we would. We'd definitely put that on our socials. So have a go. Lastly, there's a few more things you can do with poetry. We do have a whole poetry webinar on our YouTube channel for Chatterstars. So go and have a look. You'll see lots of ideas there that look at these concepts. We haven't got time to look at them in depth now, but go and have a look at that webinar. That's on our YouTube channel about poetry. And that's us. So thank you ever so much. We're so pleased that you managed to join us. If you're watching us on Catch Up, then thank you. I hope you managed to take part in all the little activities. This is your moment now, when you get to that 11+, to really show off all that you know in that big, powerful, brilliant brain of yours, and to show off what you know with vocabulary. We want to be able to help you, so do have a look at what we're doing. You get a free trial, so there's no reason why you can't just go on and play for a couple of days, see if we can help boost your vocabulary for that 11+. And every success. Thank you for joining us. We wish you all the very best with that exam in September. And if it's coming around for you next year, then you've got a year of vocab boosting fun ahead of you. So I hope that there's been some good ideas for you here. Big thanks to Liz.
No problem.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.